Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it's time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley. Of course, I'm not alone. We've got a couple of champions of talk with us this morning, as we do each and every morning. We invite you to join us here Monday through Friday on AccessTV.org, on Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and other social media, as we broadcast live around the world from the greatest city on earth, Hartford, Connecticut, New England's rising star. We got with us Miss Vicky. Miss Vicky, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good so far. I hope the country survives.
Yeah, a lot going on.
A lot going on, but I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Wow. Mr. Russell, how are you doing?
Doing great. You know, wait. Oh, I can't even get my words out. I'm waiting to get my talk on. You know,
waiting.
Yeah, I'm just reading these articles. I'm trying to, prepare myself for what we may discuss, or, what may come out of, our talk this morning, or what may come up as a part of our talk, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's there's so much, you're right, that's going on that it's kind of, you look forward to morning talk so you can pour some of it out of you.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to get some of this out somewhere. I got to, I need to get this out and, sort of, I don't know. You want to get rid of some of it so you can make room for something more, if you will.
There you go. A little house cleaning.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot going on.
Oh no.
Well, we're gonna jump into all kinds of stuff this morning. Yeah. But we'll get the light stuff out of the way first. We'll get the light stuff.
Maybe
out
I should have
of
had
the
something
way.
stronger than green tea this morning. Maybe I
green
should have brought
tea.
something more.
Green tea with grandma's with a little pinch of grandma's bourbon.
I guess so. Whiskey or something.
Yeah, little Kentucky.
Prozac on the side. I don't know.
Some Kentucky green tea.
Woo! That's not definitely what I got. That's for sure.
Wow. Well, before we jump too far in, how was your since you've been here Wednesday or Monday rather?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, I got some bad news. Mom has been diagnosed with COVID-19 positive. She's tested positive.
Oh no.
And it's interesting because she went into the hospital negative.
That is interesting.
And someone, I'm told, a patient was brought in, and they tested everybody on the floor, and Mom showed up positive. So it sounds to me that this patient didn't go from room to room. It sounds like a nurse or a medical professional had contact with the patient. Spread.
But isn't this precisely the reason why you wanted to accompany her, so that she would not necessarily be exposed?
I was blocked.
I know, but I'm just saying, it just...
Apparently, it sounds like they're not screening. Well, it sounds like they're screening, but it didn't sound like that they were isolating these people once they found out what they were, that they were positive. So that's what it sounds like. There's a lot of information here that there are gaps.
Yeah.
Right.
And because I don't understand what the hospital is doing on their end, and they're certainly not going to tell me. or you. I'm hearing rumors that there are people that are going in with it. So I know some hospitals have floors where they're just COVID-19. I don't know what St. Francis is doing. They're not communicating anything. Okay. So she has been cleared for discharge. And so she's now, the other piece of this is once you're diagnosed with this, once you're tested positive, you've got to find a COVID-19 positive place, rehab facility for your loved one. And those are very limited.
Yeah, because she has to quarantine now, right? She
Yes.
has to quarantine for at least 14 days,
Yes.
I guess.
And so I thought that this would have put the rehab on kibosh for a little bit, but they said no. They're not treating her. She says she feels fine. She has no fever. She has no breathing issues. She's not on oxygen. I spoke to her yesterday, and
that's very
she
good.
sounds great. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm a little bit more ticked off at the way that this whole thing is handled. I mean, you would think that this thing would have been thought out a little bit more, that once people are diagnosed, coming up, what's the next step? And especially if they're hospitalized, you should have, it's
Right,
just,
right.
it's a lot of ill thought out stuff. I know that, this is the first time this has happened. Well, sometimes you got to look back at historically how things were done.
Does she have a primary care physician?
She has a primary care physician.
So what does he?
I haven't had a conversation with him for a few days. According to the system that they have, which is something called Epic, these are notes that the doctors are all on copy. But I'm going to speak with him later today.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about St. Francis other than where they are. But systems being what they are, there's always communication gaps. There is no perfect system. There's a lot of conversation about, what happened yesterday in terms of, where was security. I think people have these misconceptions that everything is working perfectly until they discover it isn't. The fact and the truth of the matter is it was never working perfectly. And we project all these perfections onto things that are totally imperfect at best. And we're just hoping everything works well. And I think people do more in maintaining the illusion of effectiveness, the illusion of competency. when the fact of the matter is it's most things are totally incompetent.
It's botched.
And you don't find this out until the system is actually tested or stressed. Because
and if people bring it up as they're doing the planning, then you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy for even thinking it.
All right.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's like someone coming in your house talking about your house is dirty, or you got dirt in your corner. That's just human nature. People are always going to defend and attack against what they perceive is going to look negative upon them. And so the illusion continues. People ignore things. And thus, if you don't address it, then you don't have to worry about it. Everyone is all bent out of shape over how people were able to get into the state capitol as far as they did. But folk have real short memories. I remember someone getting all the way into the White House. Remember that when Obama was president?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And nothing was done.
And they security is more times often easily breached than people would begin to realize. You just don't hear about it. We have these systems, and you have the illusion of safety and the illusion of force. So you figure, it's the most secure building in the world. Is it? No, absolutely not. It might be for the next couple of weeks, but it wasn't the most secure building in the world. Otherwise, what happened would not have happened. And I think you see signs of this, like during the Black Lives Matter protests.
Oh, a lot of heavy-handed stuff was going on.
They had guards everywhere.
That's right. Well,
But
you look at the protesters who were majority this time. I mean, people were taking selfies with these folks, and
people were taking selfies with the last protesters.
All
I
of this
think
stuff
we
is-
I think that we have
I mean, but this has been, you know what, I think this has been ramped up all along. If we saw what happened in Michigan and throughout the country with this at the state capitals, then we wouldn't be shocked at what happened yesterday.
I'm not shocked.
I'm not either.
So I think lots of people aren't.
Well, I think
shocked.
the people of the inside of that building were shocked because they've been asleep at the wheel for a while, and they've been tone deaf to a lot of things that have been happening here. And does it justify people being killed? Absolutely not. I think people have the right to protest. But I think this got out of hand, and for a variety of factors. I think the protesting, that's under the Constitution. People have the right to do this. But the Democrats didn't get angry on Inauguration Day a few years ago. They didn't ask Obama to, you guys remember this, they didn't ask Obama to stand up and say, condemn what was happening because some people had a temper tantrum because the president was elected. So on both sides, they're playing with fire. And that's what happened yesterday. The thing blew up.
I think.
And then you got the pandemic going on. You got a lot of things that are economic things. It's a toxic. I think it's a toxic and deadly mix. In addition to the incompetencies that you mentioned.
Well, let's unpack this.
Yeah, I'm really, I guess for me, I don't want to get into that. Well, the other side did this kind of thing any longer. To me, regardless of what the other side did, that doesn't absolve anybody of their own responsibility.
Well, that's it. Everybody has a responsibility to behave responsibly.
Yeah.
Well,
but the thing is that it's almost to me, and I think I mentioned this to me before on the program. What I see, frankly, is a level of immaturity, in this country that I was shocked. You guys were not. I was totally shocked. Because to me, what I saw were children behaving very, very badly. I saw children who, because of a contest, I know it's an election, but it's a contest, and unfortunately one side lost and decided that, because we weren't fortunate enough to win the contest this time, we're gonna blow up the whole league. We're gonna destroy, something that has been wonderful to all of us for hundreds of years, because this particular contest didn't go my way. I mean, it was childish.
We saw it during Bush v. Gore. I mean, this has been going on for a while. On just varying levels, but this has been going on. People getting angry because they don't get their way. I mean, it's going on.
Yeah, but nobody has stormed the Capitol.
Yes, they did. 1954.
No, but not like
not over an election, but you had Puerto Rican nationalists that shot up the place. It goes back to 1812. I mean, the British took over the Capitol. I mean, this has been going on throughout history. People doing things. You got to look at this historically.
I don't see the equivalence.
Well, if you're going in and gunfire is gunfire, man. I don't care who's.
It actually happened rather quickly, and it was
Yeah.
over quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really, really, really over quickly.
Yeah.
In a matter of once they got the people. Once they got assets on location so that they can neutralize the threat, it was over very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. They just didn't have those type of assets in place to deal with it then. It's why they arm up when you have major protests, and then there's a big presence to kind of put that kind of stuff back, because the crowd generally can overwhelm, but with 2020 hindsight, it's clear that was not the crowd's intent overall. But this is, a lot of people are saying, this is America. This shouldn't be happening.
Oh, please.
I would contend that this is democracy at work. Mm-hmm. The reason, in my opinion, the reason we have our system, and the reason our system is, I contend, one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, is because without debate, you have mob rule and you have chaos. That is the norm. People lose soccer games and hockey games, and they trash the city. This is how people act when they lose a contest. Yeah. We would like to think that our politics is different, but over the last couple of years, politics has turned into nothing more than a sport. People know nothing about why they're voting. They vote because their favorite team is in the playoffs, and that's how they treat stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, the pendulum swings back and forth. This is the natural ebb and flow of these types of passions, because the political structure is in place so that we have a place where we can come, air our grievances, exchange ideas, and hopefully in our heated disagreements come to consensus and be polite with our displeasure over the results. Doesn't mean folk like stuff. They're just willing to suck it up, deal with it, and move on for the greater good. But once people stop listening to one another and they get polarized and they start running into their little camps, that's when stuff gets out of hand. Mm-hmm. And the country is evenly split. And it can't be understated or dismissed, the level of venom and animus on both sides. And I think that we as a country do each other a grave disservice by minimizing the animus that people have towards other folks' political views. It is not light. They are very, very serious, and that's where we really need to have these really in-depth discussions about policy, so we can, dig down deep, find out where we can agree, and come to consensus. Because if the rule of law in our country breaks down, to me, what's under attack is not democracy. And I love the press, the way they manipulate the realities of things. Our country is not built on democracy. Mm-hmm. Our country is built on the rule of law. Mm-hmm. And the law was under attack. There's been an uptick and a steady turning up of lawlessness in our country over the last several years. We allow lawlessness to just keep going. And one has asked themselves, why would people in positions of leadership allow this level of lawlessness to just keep creeping up? And, I guess we could go on for hours about, what we might think is happening. But this lawlessness, the law was attacked. And where people have grievance in the court, for cases to be dismissed, no matter how trivial, when a case is dismissed, you're dismissing opportunity to settle grievance.
Right.
It could break out in a courtroom with murderous rage.
It has in some cases,
because you have dissidents, and this is the wisdom of what Desmond Tutu was able to do in South Africa. There should have been total bloodshed, but there was none,
right?
Because of the way they went about it. Now, somebody could sue me because I looked funny and mentioned their name on television, because that's why we have media insurance, liability insurance, lots of it. But you could sue somebody for anything. There's all kinds of trivial lawsuits. They happen every single day.
And
Yeah,
there are
you got-
lawyers that are willing to take them.
Right.
Yeah.
But the federal court system is not in my opinion, some sacrosanct body. They are part of the government. They're just as susceptible to the same levels of corruption as the legislative and executive branch. We seem to kind of deify these folk as though there's some, like they're superhuman and don't fall to the same faults that we fall to. But the court has to give place for people to have grievance. Otherwise, I mean, they're the last line. And to dismiss something when there's people that have grievance, it leaves them no other choice but the street.
Well, you're right, and that's exactly what JFK said many years ago. If people don't find justice in the courts, they're going to go to the street. That's what we saw. That's what we've been seeing. There's a problem here.
See,
I think it goes beyond whoever sits in the White House. It's been going
Absolutely.
on for a long time, but they want to blame this guy like he's the beginning and the end of this. But this has been going on for a long time.
Trump is in my opinion, Trump is totally culpable for what happened.
Of course.
But you've
He's
got
a co-conspirator.
like you mentioned about Michigan.
Michigan was if people
Right,
had
right.
just looked at what happened in Michigan.
I posted pictures this morning from all 4 of the states where there were challenges.
Yes.
And all 4 of those state houses had huge crowds.
Yes.
And it doesn't take much to incite. It doesn't take much to incite a riot.
No. You've got all of the elements of something like this to happen. Really. It's a toxic stew. And it boiled over yesterday. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's done. By any stretch of the imagination. I don't think it's done. I think we're just beginning to see what we've seen before and maybe on steroids. I hope not.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. I was taking the temperature this morning with talk radio. And I was somewhat surprised at the tenor and tone of the callers this morning on talk radio. They're in full double down denial of, the majority of the people that I listen to. They're in full double down denial of what happened. Mm-hmm. They believe that people were inserted into the crowd to make this happen.
And that could be. But yeah.
They are now feeling as though that's the only alternative left for them. These are the people who, in theory, weren't the ones breaking in, but they feel as though they have no place to go, that quote unquote their country. And once you start that, it's like a couple that says, "Well, no, you're eating my food." You live in the same house, you do the shopping at the same time. Once stuff becomes mine, in a shared, you're starting to see.
And I was listening to one of the protesters who they interviewed, and it was interesting. He pointed to the Capitol. He said, those people in there are living in their own little bubble. They have no clue what is happening outside here. He says, and this is about to blow up now. Now, when you hear that, then you hear the politicians this morning saying all the political stuff. I'm so shocked that this is happening, and I never thought in a democracy like ours, this is not who we are. Yes, it is who we are, folks.
It's a shame, though.
It's been going on.
It's a total shame.
Think about it. Think about the history of this country. Taking the country by the gun from the Native American man.
And from the charter of the
that's shameful too.
Right,
right. It's ridiculous.
We fought
on so many levels.
Yeah. We fought a war because folks wanted to keep us enslaved. Country ripped apart.
Wrong. So yeah.
Okay. The gun. All right.
Human nature If you don't have a gun,
Yeah.
you use a baseball bat, a knife, or
Yeah.
But
or a brick.
isn't the point though that after all of that, you should have, there should have been lessons learned, and it sounds like to me that it goes back to what I said earlier, the level of maturity, 150 years old or 250 years old as a country. That's not a lot of years, when you consider that, civilizations have been around for, 5,000, 10,000 years prior to, the creation of America, or the Americas, if you will. But it still doesn't excuse it. What I hear, what I continue to hear, is, this flouting of norms. It's like, we talked before about there's some fundamental things that everybody, I think, who's a part of this experiment, this democracy, which is an experiment, had agreed to. There was some supposedly fundamental tenets to it that, everybody considered, part of the decorum. And what has happened is that those barriers have been broken down, and those barriers don't matter, to people anymore. It used to be where if you went to Congress, and you were in Congress especially, you were there because you represented the interests of people. Well, obviously what they're saying is that no matter who's in Congress, they don't represent the interests of the people who sent them there. That's part of what they're saying. And even if they choose a president, regardless of who the president is, he doesn't have the authority or the ability to make the country what they want it to be, by himself. So it's almost as if, and I know it's really the reality for a lot of people. It's as if they think that the way America works is simply, to satisfy, a specific group of folk, and that's it.
That is what mob rule is.
Yeah.
You want to see mob rule? Go downtown on an important issue.
Yeah.
In Hartford at City Council, the mob shows up, whatever the mob is.
That's right.
Whatever the interest group is shows up in mass, and they take over the whole chamber with their presence, whether they're employees or whether they're a local group. And now and it's meant to put pressure on the legislative body, which is the City Council. Mm-hmm. Show up with your group. The legislature is in a bubble. They're in a bubble for a reason, because they're a deliberative body who is supposed to be moving, in theory, beyond the emotion of the moment and the crowd. That's why all politics is local. All politics is not the federal government. It's local. And people are so disconnected from their local politics that they don't even know who their city council people are. They don't know a lot of people don't know, have no idea who the mayor of Hartford is.
I think it's actually beyond that. I think that, the people who people have elected and have entrusted to go to those places are more beholden to the system itself than they are to the people who put them there. They're working as a part of a system, and they're now being paid or compensated by the system, and they have all of these amenities, all of these privileges, because the system.
That's the corruption.
The system gives them, office and staff and those kinds of things. So things that they don't normally necessarily have to help them to facilitate certain matters, and they're enjoying the privilege. They're more beholden to the system itself rather than to the constituents who've actually sent them there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Move your mic more toward. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
they are beholden to the system that sent them there, but that is the system. which is, in my opinion,
It's wrong.
In my opinion, the wisdom of the founding fathers with the three branches of government, which are supposed to hold the others in check because of the nature of people to be corrupted, from the singular executive, who's easily corrupted, to the legislative, who you got the upper house, the lower house, they can be corrupted, and in time they...
Yeah, but you're a representative. These people are more concerned about holding their office,
Right.
rather than doing the bidding and the will of the people. There can be
That's how they
different positions on a variety of issues, but they're not bringing those to the forefront. They're talking about what it takes for them to continue to hold the office.
Right, and to continue to hold office.
That's what it's all
To get
about.
the peachy chair, the nice free lunch, the underground tunnel and train.
Yeah.
That's it.
The only one way to get there.
Perks.
It has to be voted in. And the system is designed. You hear people say this at every election. We need to vote these people out. Well, that's the threat. You will be voted out if you don't do our will. And I think that all too often people think that they don't be I think a lot of people lack this is Stan, not the rules of the world. People lack the capacity to be how shall we say this?
Truthful.
No, not truthful, to be dispassionate.
Oh, dispatch. Oh, you said
Dispassionate.
I got you.
Because a person is elected to office and they serve the will of the people, generally means my will. Because you're in doesn't mean you're not doing. There's people who believe intently in what their constituents want. Half the country is in marked almost pitchfork fever disagreement with the other half. It's not trivial.
Right.
They don't agree.
No.
So you have people who are anti, with a passion, same-sex marriage, gender re-identification, who are willing to go to the stake and be burned alive to fight that. And you have the other side who say, how can you be so ignorant, blind, and bigoted not to recognize my right as a human being to live a life that I choose? Mm-hmm. Those two people are not in the same camp. Mm-mm. And when they vote for people, they expect the people they vote for to contend and pass laws to push forward their agenda. And the reason they're doing it at that level is because they can't talk to their neighbor about it. So they want to.
Well,
so they
again,
pass rules that
right.
we hopefully can
right.
agree to disagree.
Right. Right.
But that's broken down. And now, if they can't go to the state house and get what they want, folks start killing each other. That's where you get the Civil War. Mm-hmm. There is no law. People come to your house, they burn your house down because you're not like us. And that's what our system is preventing. Mm-hmm. But as we see it break down, never mind going down and attacking your elected politicians. They're a dime a dozen, and when the one goes out, the next one will be replaced. It's each other that people need to be very, very concerned about, because when this stuff breaks down and you lose, then the law breaks down and you have anarchy. Then anybody that doesn't like anybody for any reason, now
it's open season.
It's open season, and there's always someone that don't like you.
Right.
And usually for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
They don't even take the time to know you, but they don't like you. And what have you done to them? Nothing. And this to me is very, very dangerous. I think that we are at seeing the beginning of the box of matches. Someone just struck one, but the box of matches is still full, and people's passions are going forward. You know, in my opinion, Donald Trump should be 25th Amendment, and Mike Pence should be made the Vice President of the United States for the next 13 days.
That should have happened a long time ago.
Because he has demonstrated an unwillingness to accept the reality that is before him. And whether he likes the outcome or not is a moot point. And this is why the 25th Amendment is there. This is why there's a legislative branch. This is why there's a judicial branch, because the executive branch really is one person with all of the amenities to help that person put into place everything else. There's only one president.
Right.
It's not the
Right.
departments, the bureaucrats.
Yeah. Right.
It's him.
Right.
And if you got the wrong guy in there, what's your mechanism to get him out?
Right.
And so I think you see the country, and it happens. The pendulum swings back and forth. This is what happens if you get the wrong guy in there. And then you won't hold him accountable, not because of party, but because he's not serving America.
I think that all of the the alarms had gone off. This crescendo that it's reached right now. I guess to some, it wasn't a surprise, because they had been saying all along that this guy's dangerous. This guy.
Now you got people that are want to resign from the cabinet. Where were they years ago? Where were they months ago?
They
Yeah.
don't need to resign. They need to step up.
Well,
And-
they're leaving.
and
They're
do
leaving.
the
That's what
25th.
they're doing.
There's only one president
Yeah.
at a time. And danger is easy to forecast a storm. It doesn't mean that the storm's going to come the way you forecast. But when you start seeing the storm deliver the amounts of snow that they said was coming, maybe you should take them seriously.
Yeah.
After what happened yesterday, to let him remain in office for the next 13 days would be a super mistake, because everything that he said he was going to do, he has done. None of this stuff is happening in a vacuum. Chris Murphy said 2 days ago, and I'm not a Chris Murphy fan, but Chris Murphy said 2 days ago, over and over and over again, the press, for whatever reason, decided to just quote him on this. He said, those of you who think that Donald Trump is not serious are sadly mistaken. I'm paraphrasing. He says he is absolutely serious about what he is saying.
Right.
This is not hyperbole.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he continues to say how he didn't win, and our government is being taken over by seditious forces. Well, if that's what he believes, and after yesterday, you better really take him seriously. He still is in charge of a tremendous apparatus, and to leave him in office would be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's the conclusion.
And
that
then
most people.
and then you've got the other side too. Is that if you take him out, the other pendulum swings. I mean, it's like
I contend
it's almost like a double-edged sword. Almost.
You're not gonna.
With his
No one
supporters,
in
with
this
his
country.
supporters.
Nobody in this country. I said this earlier in the year. I say it now. If there may be a civil war in terms of people going after each other, which would be horrible, beyond measure. When folks start going back and forth and being ugly and mean, like history has proven that human beings can do to one another all over the globe, and we're no different. But if anybody in this country thinks they're going to mount a defense against the United States military, they're sadly mistaken, and they will realize that in minutes. So there's no one going to come up and overtake the government with their little handguns, their little Glocks or anything else, or even a militia. It's just not going to happen. They're woefully misinformed if they think that's going to happen.
Well, we heard that
So,
with the Black Lives Matter
people
was going to take over at one point too.
Right. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The people might get upset, but they don't have access to the capacity to be disruptive like Donald Trump does. There's an aircraft carrier group sitting off the coast of Iran right now. There's this is very, very dangerous times with a man who has demonstrated that he will stop at nothing to do what in his mind is protect the country. It doesn't matter whether he's right or wrong. It's what he thinks and how he behaves based upon that. And what he said that he would do. At what point won't you take him seriously? Now, people couldn't, but I watched all day yesterday. I was really hoping that the president was going to say, folks, today is the day that Joe Biden becomes president of the United States. 4 years from now, we're going to take him on. All of you are here. I love you. You love me. We love each other. Let's dance as we go off the stage. All this other cool stuff, you know. The great communicator. The man that has a capacity to pull together 74 million people. That's a gift that most people keep underlooking. Came president the first time out the gate, and I was told you can't become a dog catcher if we don't want you. So I thought he said, let's get ready for 4 years from now. And hey, let's take our wins and march into the sunset and hold these people responsible. But that's not what he did. He said, we're going to march down there. I couldn't believe when I heard it. Let's march down there together.
Right.
And let them know we're not going to take it anymore. Now, those are his words.
Man, that sounds like a thing out of Network.
It sounds like you're watching a movie.
It does.
Unhinged.
Network. Remember Howard Dean?
Yes. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. Well, he inflamed the crowd. Now, we can get all into the details, the timeline. They couldn't walk down there as fast as the action that was happened. But be that as it may, words mean things. Those are your words. They're on the record. And you are the leader. Now, you have full responsibility for what happened yesterday. To whom much is given, much is required. That's his fault. It's the president's fault. He caused an insurrection on his own government by any analysis of the facts. Like him, love him, hate him.
A deterioration of the presidency.
The office won't be deteriorated.
Yeah.
He will be. He will be a man without a country.
But I do think that the country has taken a hit, or is taking a hit even as we speak. I think that the rest of the world is looking at us. There's no doubt that people, have identified, if you will, flaws. I mean, fissures that exist inside of schisms that exist inside of our country that, for the most part, people, sort of cast it aside because they didn't feel as if they were really relevant. The reality, I think, for those who are really looking, for, solutions to the problems that have been created, is that, as much as it's one man, he could not pull this off without enablers.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
there are enablers all over the place. I mean, listen, if I can convince you of a lie, if I can tell you, hey, listen, I know you like those kinds of sweaters, Stan. I got a blue one, man. That green one that you got on, that one's, it's time, man, that green just, if I can tell you over and over again the lie, and the lie somehow, gets rooted, all it takes is those words, to be planted, and to take up root in people. And all of a sudden it becomes the reality for them, regardless of what's been said. So,
it's an exploitation.
It really is very, very demonic, And I know it's maybe a little early in the program to take it there, but I was going to, at the wrap up, start to talk about it. But, the reality for me is that America as a country, has kicked God to the side.
Oh, long ago.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're trying to do things without God. And that's the real problem, because the reality is that those norms that were created, the sense of decorum and decency that we have to each other, was because we all believed in something that's bigger than all of us. See, but now it's almost as if that's something that we know is bigger than all of us. It really hasn't isn't a reality.
It is a reality.
I know it is for you and me.
No. The reality is that something bigger than all of us is government. Government has been deified.
Oh yeah. That's
government has been deified.
Now,
in the theology of party politics.
It's
like Protestants versus Catholics. In Ireland.
Right, and then you've got the politicians that are manipulating.
The politicians have become clergy.
That's right. They're manipulating. Well, that other
and
side,
bishops.
those ugly folks over there.
Yeah.
They don't think like you. Me.
Yep.
It's gonna, this whole thing. It's gonna be very hard for Biden to govern in this environment. I don't know how he's gonna do it, but I mean, I heard it yesterday with people that were there, and they spoke these were not stupid people. They said, well, he's going to be president in 2 weeks. They said, no, he's not. No, he's not. And they said, we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Right. They believe that.
And I'm saying, whoa.
Right. So
they're coming back in 2 weeks.
Unless the president of the United States is removed from office, he will have the power of the presidency. And,
he does have to have some accountability.
The accountability is to the legislative branch of government.
Well, of course, but I'm saying, I don't see. I think it's like
you can hold the murderer accountable after he kills somebody, but that's a little too late.
Well, without a doubt. No, I listen. I agree with the 25th Amendment.
So who's going to be willing to do this?
Well, his cabinet has to bring it forward.
Is the cabinet doing it?
Yeah. Well, we're
Mike
hearing
Pence.
rumors.
Is he willing? To do that?
I don't know this, so I really should. I got 3 copies of the Constitution right here. I should look it up.
Yeah.
I think that any member of the cabinet can evoke the 25th, and then they just need the votes.
Right.
So who's going to do it?
I don't know who will do it, but if it doesn't happen, he remains president. As long as he remains president, people will believe that Joe Biden will not be sworn in.
Well, listen, but let's
those
peel,
on the other side.
Let's peel the onion back a little bit, though, because the thing is, I think, is that the politics, the reason why I believe it's so visceral, it's so vicious, right now, is because people have these extremes. They've gotten to this point where it's, either they live or they die, type of thing. And obviously, for them, that's really all that matters. I think that's where the 45th guy is at as well. I think what he sees and what he knows is that once he loses and he's out of there, that his life, the way he knows it and the way he's had it, is gone.
Listen, he's leaving with his pockets full.
Well, but see, I don't know.
He's insulated.
I think.
I mean, this isn't a guy that's going in the underground.
Right, he's not going to jail.
And
he's not going to jail.
Nixon to jail.
I tell you what.
And he was
I
just
bet
as
you
paranoid.
he's not convinced of that. You may be convinced of that.
Donald,
but I don't think he's convinced of that.
He's not going
His
anywhere.
act of desperation, the act of desperation that he's displaying, is one in which he believes it's as you think. Now, it's as you think. He's thinking the way he has had it.
You were assuming he's thinking.
Well,
that
it's
way.
the way he's acting.
I see.
You know what?
It's the way he's acting.
He's gonna leave.
He's not acting like a guy who's walking away with a pocket full of money.
See, you and I have a different view of his. We are interpreting his actions differently, which is great.
Yeah.
I love that because it demonstrates that people don't think alike, and so. One reason why we have such a divide in the country because people honestly believe differently. I don't think Donald Trump is afraid of going to jail. It's inconceivable to him that he's going to go to jail. Right. He's a narcissist's narcissist. Everything evolves around him.
His ex-wife said these things.
Right.
I mean, if you listen to Ivana, she told us what he was all about, and nobody listened.
Right? He doesn't think he's going to jail.
Right. Nixon didn't think he was
can
going
live
to jail
anywhere he wants on the planet. He can get on a plane and go. If Julian Assange isn't in jail,
yeah.
I mean,
these guys don't go to jail.
Who's going to go and arrest unless they go in there and take him out right now?
I mean, this is like Nixon going to San Clemente. Remember? He got on a plane. He went to San Clemente.
Right. They're not going to put Donald
He didn't
Trump
go to
in
jail. And you know what?
Right.
What happened? A few years later, Nixon laid low, and then all of a sudden, he came out again.
If Donald Trump, let's say he goes to jail, that's a moot point because it's
not going to happen.
For me, it's not connected to the 25th.
Right.
And I think we cannot underplay his mindset if he truly believes what he is articulating. He's never articulated that I might go to jail. What he has articulated is he believes that the country is under attack from a deep state rogue government. That's what he is expressing. And that's
a grift. He's a grifter. He's a con artist. He's a con artist.
Russell,
he's a total con. Listen,
you understand that, but the 74 million people that you know why?
Total con.
Do you know why lies work?
Why do lies work?
Because the truth isn't present.
Right.
People believe a lie until the truth is present.
So
a lie is the absence of the truth, and in the absence of truth, people will believe anything.
Right.
So it's not like people just want to believe a lie. They don't have other alternatives. Right. Now, if you present somebody the truth and they choose a lie, that's different. Right. This is why the witness who walks into the courtroom at the end of the case blows everybody out of the water because he's the truth. You present people with the truth. Now, Donald Trump's cabinet and many Republicans in positions of leadership have been presented with the raw truth that Donald Trump will stop at nothing at holding on to power. That is now, if it's because he doesn't want to go to jail, so be it. Doesn't really matter. He's not willing to let go of power. And as long as he is in office, those people that Vicky talked about will falsely believe that Joe Biden will never take his seat on the 20th. There's people out there that actually believe that.
It's dangerous.
And that's a dangerous way to think.
And Joe Biden had better be careful here, too, because he says, well, I'm not worried about my safety. You better be worried about your safety.
You're absolutely right. We don't think alike at all. I'm so far removed from what you've just said that what I believe you've just said is actually, counter to everything that this country stands for. I believe
what the country's supposed to stand for.
Let's be honest.
To stand for. This country hasn't stood for the things it is purported to stand for ever.
And then you hear, but this is not us. Yes, it is us.
Right.
This
is us. You still have to have some fundamentals, some foundational things.
Good luck.
You have. Well, why are we here if there's no foundation, if there's no fundamentals, then all purpose, nothing has any purpose. It's all chaos.
So
is that what we're saying? Yeah, it's all chaos, no matter where or what. That's what you're saying. The foundation doesn't matter. There has to be something fundamental.
The foundation.
You in your heart of hearts. And we're going to have a 100. You in your heart of hearts know that what you're saying is on the surface true. Because if you stack up what you're saying with the words, you know that this country has got we need to pray for our country.
We sure do.
Because it is so far off of those fundamentals. It is no way, in no way, shape, or form does our country line up with the principles upon which it was established, which is the principles of the word. It is so far removed from that it doesn't make any sense.
I beg to differ.
You believe our country is.
I think that's the only thing that's holding it together. I think that only thing that has as much of it that's missing as I would hope that it should be, or as much as it that is left, whatever of it that's left, it's foundational. These people are not. They're not waking up wanting to do something that adversely affects the next person.
Who?
Nobody does. Nobody does. And I'm saying that that's what's happening. People are waking up and automatically somebody else is over here and you're over there. So that's not a world that anybody believes in.
We don't have to believe in it for it to be happening.
It is happening.
I'm saying fundamentally, we have to have something. If you have nothing fundamentally, if you have no foundation whatsoever, then it might as well not exist. You got to have some foundation. And I'm saying foundationally, something has to be in place.
This is our foundation.
Right. And even this
is the foundation.
This doesn't even live up.
Right. That's the foundation.
Yeah.
This
Constitution.
The Constitution is the foundation upon which our country is built. This little tiny book, not all the law libraries. This thing. Mm-hmm. Upon this foundation, this is the Constitution which lays down the foundation.
That's the fundamentals of government.
And this is our fundamentals, right?
Of government,
right? Now,
of government,
of our government.
Okay,
because our government is unique. As a democracy, and there's other democracies.
You're deifying, like you say.
I'm not deifying.
Well, but you're saying, because I don't consider that fundamental.
So you're saying, because you talk in code sometimes.
No,
you're saying that this is the foundation.
I'm saying that's the foundation.
You didn't doubt.
Well, I'm saying it has to be.
Unless people know you,
it has to be.
There was nothing in what you said. We could go back, watch the tape when you get done. That you said the foundation of our country is the Bible and the Word of God.
I said there has to be a foundation.
So
that's what I said.
We're talking about politics. That's why I thought that we're talking about the political foundation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The fundamentals of decency, the fundamentals of the fact that everybody has to have some sense of respect for one another. That doesn't necessarily come from the Constitution. That comes from everybody's fundamental belief in something that's bigger and that is more than all of us. So that's what I said.
Okay, I don't believe that a whole lot of. I know people who, between us, we have mutual respect. But I know people who, if I push the envelope toward a conversation about God, would tell me to take a flying leap because they don't believe in God. They think that we who believe in God are detrimental to the society as a whole. They totally, flatly reject God.
And you also know other people on the other side.
Yes.
Okay, so...
But my point is that the notion that there's everybody that has to believe in something that is good and wholesome. There are people who are patently evil,
but
they don't believe.
But you still need a foundation. You still need.
So what is their foundation?
If they don't have one, then they don't have one. That's the choice that they've made. But I'm saying you have to have a foundation. If you choose not to have a foundation, then nothing matters. That's the point. If you choose to say there is no God, then there's no foundation and nothing matters. And that's part of probably where you're at and where we're at as a society, because people have gotten to that point where nothing matters. They don't consider or respect the human decency or respect for each other.
Right. I agree with you on that. Absolutely and totally. But we are compartmentalizing the discussion for the sake of discussion. We're talking about the foundations and the fundamentals of what our country is established. This experiment that you're talking about. To me, that is a different discussion than biblical. Because for me, biblically speaking, and I believe in the word, judgment is coming on the United States, and we are experiencing that judgment. You live by the sword, you die by the sword, you reap what you sow. There's only one country on the planet that's ever used nuclear weapons in an exchange, and that's the United States of America. The United States of America has done great harm to humanity and the planet. And so I keep that discussion separate because that's not a very rosy picture in the end. And, you know,
a lot of people don't want to admit it.
A lot of the country's in decline. We're watching the fall of Rome.
Yeah.
But there's a reason. And so what we're talking about now is what happened yesterday and why the president of the United States needs to be removed from office. That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree with that.
And where his mindset is and why he needs to be set down and taken in handcuffs out the office if he won't leave.
Well, we're talking about the 25th Amendment, which was ratified by Congress in 1965, and it's very interesting. He can declare his own disability.
But he ain't gonna do that.
He's not gonna do that. No. But that would be a good way out.
Biden might do that, but Trump isn't.
There are alternate procedures to declare and end the presidential disability. Okay, whereas the vice president, a majority of either principal offices of the executive departments or of such body as Congress may, by law, provide, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the House and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Okay, and so there's a transmission that goes. There's a written declaration that no inability exists. I mean, it's laid out. If people would,
it's very laid
clear,
out.
You know. And then they say here, the 25th Amendment affirms the vice president succeeds to the presidency if the president dies, leaves office, or is disabled. Okay, we've seen this throughout history. The amendment also stipulates that the president is to select the vice president with congressional approval. If the office of the vice presidency becomes vacant, if the president is temporarily disabled, he may transfer authority to the vice president. And we saw that with Reagan and Bush, Bush and Cheney. Okay, so who's going to step up here?
Mike Pence may have to. Now, the president keeps jumping on Mike Pence the way he is. You know, there was reporters were saying the day before yesterday, before this insurrection happened, that Trump demands absolute loyalty, even though he will never be loyal to you. It was kind of funny because the only person that's continued to be loyal to the president was Mike Pence, the only one, until, of course, yesterday. As he started to say, you know, I'm getting a bad feeling about Mike, this, that, and the third, in his little speech before this crowd.
Well, he should have known what Mike was going to do ahead
Mike's
of time.
going to hold up the Constitution of the United States.
That's right. I mean, he's that. You can see that he's that kind of man.
Right.
Very principled.
Yes,
also.
he is. Yes, he is.
Right.
I often said that they might have been better nominating him. We might not have had this problem.
They would have been.
I think he would have made a much better president.
Without a doubt.
I've
But
always
there
liked the
are
way he handled
those
himself.
on the left, and I have plenty of friends over there.
Yeah.
There are those on the left who would prefer President Trump to Mike
course,
Pence
yeah.
because of Mike Pence's ultra religious, Bible thumping beliefs. And they didn't want that. There's a segment of our society that has a visceral reaction to anything that has to do with the scripture. And they flat out reject that.
And here again, you know, listen, the word defends itself.
Oh,
I don't even have to. But
right.
But the point is that there still has to be a foundation. And I'm saying that if we enter into anything together, there has to be some. We talked about it the other day. Communication, is essential in order for us to coexist. When we talk, and I know I get accused of this too. For whatever reason, and it doesn't hinder me and my perspective at all. But unless we're starting from common ground, then where we go from there, it's definitely not going to be anything that both sides can actually embrace in a way that you reach a conclusion that is satisfactory to both sides. You're just not going to. You're not going to do it. So I'm saying that fundamentally is where the difference between. That's why you keep hearing the word authoritarian versus democracy, and then you hear the other people talking about other types of societies that helps this current president identify with what he believes the presidency should be, and the reason for his actions. And that's why you hear him referring to him as a despot, and who is somebody who is facing exile, who really has come in and believes that the office that he holds gives him unfettered powers.
We see that at all levels. So we have people who don't feel they should be checked.
All I'm getting to is that you're looking at somebody who doesn't understand the office and is gripped with fear because he has never understood with his narcissism. And everybody who says that they can look at him and they don't think that there's anything mentally and psychologically and sociologically wrong with him is looking at something else, because there is clearly something mental, psychological, and socially out of kilter with the guy.
We all know that.
We know that, Russell.
So that being the case, because nobody actually has ever diagnosed, it hasn't been legally diagnosed by anybody, but we can all see it. So now, you got to come up with a prognosis, because you got to say, where does that mind go from here? And I'm telling you that, considering his life and the things that he's done and all of the things that he's been able to accomplish, or so they say accomplish, all of that has been smoke and mirrors.
Be that as it may, that it doesn't change where we are.
No,
the dude has hijacked the plane, and it doesn't matter why. We could do that once we get on the ground. Right now, we got to get him out of the cockpit.
Oh, well,
and so that's where I am. I have no. I don't know Donald Trump from Adam. I can make some assessments based upon what I see, based upon what I know. I might be right, I might be wrong, but it becomes a moot point, because the fact of the matter is, he is acting in a way that is not beneficial for all of us. And
Correct.
While we may all have a shared interest in where the ship of the United States winds up, we got on the ship after it set its voyage. So, we're not necessarily part of the original compact. And when I say that, I don't mean black people. I mean anybody. Because none of us are 150 years old. None of us are 250 years old. We do not have the collective wisdom of the forefathers until now. We have our own depth of knowledge. It's only as long as we are old. And every year people are born and they got to learn things. And every year new people go into the office, and everyone that goes in there becomes a freshman, and they go to their little classes, and they try to get a grip and understanding on how this stuff happens. And it starts over new each time new people get in. They don't take the collective wisdom of the past no more than our young. Take our wisdom and learn from our mistakes. They think that they won't make the same mistakes we did. They think that we're the ones that are off because we're old and just don't understand anymore.
Oh.
And so the country is no different. People are no different.
That's why it was such a bad idea to have a guy like that as president. You're talking about
but he is president.
Well, I
know
understand.
that, Russell.
I understand.
And all of that was done
done
with the help of the media. The media gave him coverage. They did it.
They gave everybody coverage.
But they always covered his rallies. Always. Trump.
The media did.
Yeah,
the
media did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're much to blame. They're to much to blame for his rise
the media is to blame for his rise because they failed to give accurate coverage, in my opinion. Not because they covered his rally. They never covered his rallies. They check all the videotape. You see a Trump rally, what did you see? Trump. You never saw the crowd behind him. You never saw 30,000 people wearing Trump hats. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, where's his ground team? Ground team paid $10 for a hat. The ground team is the same people that showed up yesterday. Those folk will go out and knock on doors, and they'll do a whole lot more. They never really gave you the breadth of what we were dealing with, so people ignored it. They didn't think he was going to win the first time.
Right.
And they really didn't think he was going to win the second time. And it's by a miracle or an act of treason or whatever you want to call it that he didn't win. Because had he won, or had the two people in Georgia, Republicans won, what you're seeing of Donald Trump now is the outward manifestation of who he has always been. It just didn't get to the surface.
Right.
And now that it has, people have all the truth that they need to do what is necessary.
With 2 weeks left.
2 weeks is more than enough because the damage that Donald Trump has done pales in comparison to the damage that he can do. If you think he disrupted the country, the capacity to disrupt for the narcissist has no limit. Mm-hmm. I don't think he is an Adolf Hitler. I don't think he's a Nazi or anything like that. But when people of that mindset who think about themselves in the ways that they do, that have the power that they have.
Right. Now
it should not be underestimated or dismissed.
Now we're talking.
That's all I'm saying.
Now we're talking because you I think that's exactly correct. I think that the mindset, and the reason why the 25th Amendment should be invoked is very clear. I think that is certainly a place where great consideration and effort should be made as we're speaking to put it in play. I completely concur.
Second.
I completely concur with that.
Second.
But I also, in addition to that, am very, very mindful of the fact that he hasn't gotten there by himself, and the fact that there are so many other enablers and so many other people who are now in the throes of this, in the throes of his ideology, and in the throes of what he believes, about this country, that there's got to be more than just the 25th Amendment. I think
so. What should it be?
Well, I think that you've got to round up all of the anarchists who are
currently in office or in the bureaucracy.
No, the ones
they're talking about the criminals. Really, the criminals. We're watching the criminals.
Well, the ones who you have watched and witnessed, their destruction.
Are you talking
in their criminal acts?
You have to be more specific than that, because my mind thinks of people who when I think of enablers, I don't think of the sheep who follow the false shepherd.
Well, but
I think of the fellow shepherds that he has for his herd of 20,000 head of sheep, because they ain't all following one guy. He got people helping him. So
he's got him on a bunch of levels. I get that.
Right.
He's
so
got him on more than
who are we talking about? The Mike Pences? We talked about the Ted Cruz's. Who are we talking about?
We started the lowest hanging fruit. That's why I started where I did. I'm talking about those people who actually
militias
showed up. The militias who showed up.
Those folk aren't the ones I'm worried about.
Well, you may not be, but you're asking about how to deal with the current issue. And I'm saying you've got to start at a place where you get the lowest hanging fruit. Coming after the people who are in those offices, who are in Congress and those places, that's another level.
Right, because that's going to be hard.
Discipline. Sure it is.
Right.
Sure,
and it's also hard to just arrest people because we think that they might be complicit.
No.
Now, the folk who they got pictures of down there?
Yes.
Well, that's already happening.
Well, it should be.
But those aren't enablers. Enablers are the people who you don't know, who are sitting back in some chair in some mansion someplace or sitting in some office, who help facilitate these things. Those are the enablers. But all of those enablers need a central point of authority. And that's him. That's why he needs to be removed.
Well,
once he's removed,
let's say all need some kind of accountability.
He did a statement. This is what he says. Even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election and the facts bear me out, nevertheless, there will be an orderly transition on January 20th. I have always said we would continue our fight to ensure that only legal votes were counted. While this represents the end of the greatest first term in presidential history, it's only the beginning of our fight to make America great again.
Right. So that means to me,
I'm coming back.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving, and I'm coming. And even if I leave,
right,
I'm coming back.
Right. So it's the end of the first term, but not the end of the fight. It's those kinds of nebulous comments that undermine the integrity of the first part. I'll leave, even though I shouldn't. I mean, that means you don't want to leave.
It's double talk.
It's double talk.
It's ridiculous.
And it's dog whistling to folks. Those are dog whistles that mean one thing to somebody, but mean something totally different to someone else. And as long as he's in the power, in the seat of authority.
Listen, I think that there are folks who are looking at this, eyes wide open, can see exactly what it is and what it does, actually to the concept or to the experiment of democracy. And I think that, after 250 years, if you will, of this experiment, as fragile as it is, even folks on the right, and you always want to be right, left, or whatever, but that's not what I'm, I don't put any weight on that. But even folks on the right see the wrong in destroying everything, because that's what he's just done. He has really given them a picture of what he's willing to do if for some reason the contest turns out to not be in their favor. He will destroy everything. So who wins? Nobody. So you destroy your opponent and you just have people who are like you, who are like-minded just like you, who own now the whole game and the whole field. So you live, in an isolated world where you believe you have all that you need and can hope for, at your disposal, because you've just completely annihilated, the rest of
I think
humanity.
Russell has a lot of faith in humanity.
I do,
because
I do.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I think of people who are in power as loving power.
Yes.
They're not sitting at home thinking about us, hoping that things work well for us.
No, they don't care.
They could care less. There are people who totally buy into and believe that the world is overpopulated and we need to bring those numbers down. There are people who sanction wars where other countries, people are obliterated. and reduced to ashes. And we've got a fight for the resources of Africa going on. And meanwhile, the people on the continent are being diminished. There's economic warfare going on to make sure that the African continent never rises beyond its subservient position, so that they can continue to be exploited for the glory of the West and all other kinds of things. So I don't think that there are those who have any problem with the system being totally destroyed. I give you names of people here at Harvard who wholeheartedly believe with every fiber of their being that our system of government is so flawed that the only place we can start is from the beginning. And that cannot happen until the current state of affairs, as we have what we call this experiment, has been terminated. And we start from the ground up. There's people who believe that.
Oh, yeah.
It's not trivial to them. They believe that, and they are dedicated to that end. And they spend their nights thinking of ways to dismember this. So there are foreign.
You're referring to what? Other countries?
No, I'm referring to people.
People in America who feel that way about America.
Absolutely.
They feel that destroying America, and starting over, destroying America and starting over is an actual option, is an actual strategy that should be employed.
There are people that actually believe that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I have not heard that. I have not heard that. Maybe I've been under a rock.
You're not under a rock. Your perspective is different. That's all. And you're just maybe not aware of their perspective and how serious they are. That's the divide in our country, Russell.
Yeah.
Our country is polarized.
Very much.
That's not trivial. When I say they're polarized, I mean
they're polarized.
They're polarized. I used to work with people who were polarized. All praise and glory be to the Lord Jesus. For whatever reason, you give me the ability to be in the middle. So God gives you favor. He gives you favor. I don't question it. But I've literally worked with people on television programs, and because they had a shared interest in that, without each other, their program would not exist. It can't, because you can't do it by yourself. Where there were people who were not pro-life, they were pro-abortion, and unashamed, working hand in hand, side by side with people who are pro-life, and these people wouldn't give each other the space to breathe in each other's air, except they needed each other to do their shows so they could each get their message out. And that was the common ground, the freedom of speech. And that common ground caused a lot of people to be able to work together in spite of their disagreements. The law is supposed to do that for us.
Mm-hmm.
But they did not like each other. I got friends who, if I'm sitting down talking to one, the next one comes in, sits down, this one gets up as he whispers in my ear, "I don't know how you can have that scumbag as a friend. I'll talk to you later," and leave. So I know that there's people who don't agree, and that's real. It's legitimate. How can we come to a place where we don't dismiss those agreements, but we respect that we disagree and we find common ground so that we can have a better union and a better nation, knowing that we all don't get along? Maybe you got to go live in Texas and I live over here in Connecticut. And if we agree to that, then that's cool. This is your county? That's good. I will stay out. But at some point, we got to find a way to get along. And our president is the antithesis of that, because he has so polarized the country, unfortunately.
Okay.
And
I think we're saying the same thing.
It's going to be it's unraveling as we talk, and it will pick up. It's like a snowball. It's gotten so big.
Divide and conquer.
13 days.
Keep dividing.
January 20th
keep the division.
is going to be very interesting.
Keep
I'll
the
be glad
division
when
going.
21st gets here.
You're saying keep the division going. The way to win is to keep the division going.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm kind of paraphrasing.
No, absolutely not. Quite the opposite.
Oh, okay. So then we're saying the same things because that's.
But there are people that believe that. And we've seen it throughout history where people use the division to keep things going.
Right. And all I was saying by pointing that out is you said that you've never heard of this and it's foreign to you as a notion. So I'm saying, brother, it is real.
Yeah, but I'm saying but I think the extreme is where you caught my attention, where people are so dead set on the position that they take that there's no room for anything other than the position that they take.
That's where we are.
Okay.
That's exactly.
That's exactly where we are. It's no longer. It used to be that those were extreme views, so we didn't have to worry about them. They're extreme.
People.
They're fringe.
Yes, the fringe.
Flat earthers, aliens. All right, let them go. But now when the flat earthers and the aliens outnumber everybody else, and they're gonna kill you because you don't believe, we got a problem. These people are no longer fringe.
See, I don't. Again, I don't. You're right. You know them and you've experienced them. And I have not, because I've found even the folks, and I know a few people. So we don't agree on a lot of things. Certainly principally, but they seem to, and I'm have favor as well. They seem to be at least tolerant, of the fact that we have this shared existence. I mean, one of the reasons why I chose the party that I did was because of the highlights of the party, and the things that they stood for principally. I knew that there was a radical part to it, but being a part of it and understanding that it was a system that we all needed to participate in, I thought this was the best perch to participate in it from. But I still don't see them so hard and fast that they can't possibly come to grips with the fact that somebody sees the world differently than them.
You talk about Republicans.
I'm saying Republicans.
The Republican Party is not what Trump is the head of. Trump is the party. Trump is the head of the Trump Party. The Republican Party has been effectively split. It's there.
Yeah, it is.
But it is split because the Republicans saw the right wing far, quote unquote, they even got a label for them. They're the far right. And so the far right was extreme until it was the majority of the party. And then they put the Tea Party people in.
Yep, the Tea Party.
Well, that is a passing thing. We'll get control. Then the Tea Party expanded. Mm-hmm. Then Trump came. Now Trump is controlling 74 million votes, and the Republicans think that they can't get elected if they get Trump on their bad side. Now they're all jammed up because they didn't take seriously the voices of dissent within the party. Right. You cannot minimize dissent. You have to give it an opportunity to be heard and come to consensus, or it will fester and grow. And there's like also a cancer until it overtakes the host. And then that's just my opinion.
No, but even on the Democratic side, you have factions within the Democratic Party. They say the same thing. We're one big happy family. We're one big tent. But the minute people get pissed off under that tent, they don't want to know. So that's a problem too. So they can't say that
But Democrats are much better at it. Nancy Pelosi talked to those voices of dissent, got them on the same page, and then they're going to put her back as Speaker of the House because she
wants to hold on to power.
But that's how power works.
Yeah.
So, but there's consensus and We agree to disagree. We'll work on these things that we can work on, and we'll move forward. We're not going to throw these people away. We're not going to diminish them. We got to. That's what big tent means.
Well, we'll see how it works out for them too.
Well,
I'm not
now
so...
you're getting back to the point that I was trying to emphasize earlier. There still has to be somewhere within the lay of the land.
We agree.
Yes.
We agree, Russell, but there does have to be. But because there has to be doesn't mean that there is. And there isn't right now, and we need to bring it back there. That's where I think we're disconnecting.
Man.
Not that that's a fundamental principle. You cannot stand on solid ground if the ground isn't solid.
Right.
But you're standing on thin ice when we're talking about how, well, there needs to be, but it ain't. And then we break through. We have to find a solid ground as a nation.
Bingo.
Or we're not going to make it.
That's the thing. That now we're talking. Because we have to fortify the foundation.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's fortify. We must. There we go. Yes.
Well. And doing the things that are necessary to fortify is certainly you have to address the urgency of the situation that we face now in the country. Everybody has to face that, because what you're looking at, and I think this is not exaggeration either. This is a reality, is that you're looking at the whole of things being destroyed. You're looking at, the experiment itself. After 250 years, somebody is deciding that they're just going to break it, and because it didn't work for them, they're gonna trash it, as if all of the work and the effort to bring it to this point, didn't matter at all. And I think that that's where, everybody who's participating in it, they are reaching that point where they understand they must not let that happen. You cannot let that happen, no matter how many people, think that they could care less about whether it's destroyed or not. You cannot let that happen, because it's really given even the ones who don't like it, a place, a space, for their voices. So if you destroy it completely, then basically their voice that's destroying it has no relevancy, as well as the voice that they believe that's upholding it would have no relevancy. None of it matters. And I think that that's unfortunately not being made as a part of the conversation. And that's why it seems so immature to me. It seems very immature. It's like the kid.
It is immature. Be that as it may,
It's like the kid playing basketball. Hey, listen, I lost, man.
I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Give me my ball, man. I got to run.
Well, when this kid takes his ball and goes home, it could be like Ferdinand. So, one man can make the difference. The Grand Duke Ferdinand was assassinated in the start of World War I. Things get out of control, not by purpose. Sometimes it's just the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong place over one little action. And then it spirals out of control. The same thing can be stopped by one little action. The problem is we don't see into the future. But we can, as you say, learn from the collective history of the world. Now, the commander-in-chief has tremendous authority as long as he is the commander-in-chief.
That's a given.
And our commander-in-chief is
So it's time for the 25th Amendment. Bottom line.
Who's going to do it?
It's time for the 25th Amendment.
Who's going to do it? Who's going to step up?
It's not a matter of stepping up. Get
it done.
It needs to be done. So whoever, and that's they're calling on Pence to do this. The question is,
Will he?
he? You can't fire the vice president.
No.
Well,
Stay tuned, I guess.
yeah. You know, they can't win either way because
Well, it's not a matter of winning. It's a matter of the country being whole.
Well, I agree.
It'd be interesting if Pence can talk to him and say, "Look,
there's no talking."
But I think that's Pence's approach privately.
To be diplomatic.
To be diplomatic, to go in and say, "Mr. President, look, man.
Yeah.
This is, save yourself some trouble.
Yeah, right.
Save yourself some trouble and just say you're disabled and
He-
step down."
the
But that's
president-
what he'll do. That's what he'll
The
do.
president said yesterday. The president said yesterday in his speech.
But that's 24 hours, man. He's going to say to him, "Look," because that's just the way he strikes
I think he already
Yeah.
said that. The president said in his speech yesterday, go back and watch, he says, they say to me, hey, 96% you're going to win 4 years from now. 96%. Just go on and do it 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do it in 4 years. He says, I want to go back 8 weeks. I want to go back 8 weeks, not forward 4 years. I want to go back 8 weeks because we already won. So for someone who has consistently demonstrated he cannot make it into the morning without a tweet, I'm not being mean-spirited or bombastic. That's a fact. He can't make it to the morning without a tweet.
Yeah, they shut him down.
So
12 hours, they shut him down.
well, that's how you know you're just a regular person.
Yeah.
Facebook
President is
jail.
just a regular
Because Facebook will put you in jail. They don't care clearly who you are.
Yeah.
Half of America can attest to that. Facebook doesn't play. They don't give you any warning. You're just sanctioned. And the worst is when they just take your account away. I've had it happen. So Facebook you go to, where's my stuff?
Yeah.
It's gone. Who do you complain to? Nobody. Well, I got rights. No, you don't. This is our platform. We let you use it. You don't. We don't like what you did yesterday.
Right,
Bye.
right.
It's just that simple. There's no debate. They shut. Facebook shut him down for 24 hours. Twitter shut him down for 12 hours. But my point is that he tweets his mind. And so even though you had a good conversation with him last night, Miss Vicky, after you leave and he starts thinking about what you said, that's all it took.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, there it is.
Yeah.
Get me the commander of the 7th Fleet. I mean, we're in some very dangerous times. And if you think that the nation is under threat, let's take it for face value. No, you don't even need to get conspiratorial. Just take it for face value.
Yeah.
The nation is under threat.
Yep.
We're under siege by forces who are trying to undermine a free and fair election.
True.
They robbed us of our election. We did everything that we could. We couldn't depend on the courts.
That's
We
a
couldn't
mindset.
depend on the legislature. We couldn't depend on the state of Pennsylvania. I couldn't depend on Ted Cruz. I couldn't depend on Marco Rubio. I couldn't depend on Nancy Pelosi. I couldn't depend on the Proud Boys. I can't depend on Mike Pence. We have to do what we have to do. Now, he said everything except the Proud Boys, and we have to do what we have to do. Everything else he has said. What part of what he said do we not believe?
Right.
We can take him at his word. That's one thing about Donald Trump as a political figure. He actually tells you exactly what he intends to do. And for the last 4 years, people have said, well, yeah, ain't gonna happen.
He didn't mean that.
He ain't gonna build a wall. He ain't gonna put children
I think
in
he
prison.
learned his
He ain't
lesson.
gonna do this. He ain't gonna do that.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna do that.
He learned his lesson. Yeah.
If someone shows you their face,
Believe him.
believe them.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Now, hopefully, we're wrong. This is one of them things that'd be real nice to be wrong about. But I believe this dude has no boundaries or limits.
I still believe he's scared. I believe that and he's acting out
Those
of
are
fear.
the most dangerous people.
Yeah.
The scared ones backed up in the corner.
Yeah, he's acting out of fear.
Well, those guys were backed up in the corner yesterday, and you saw what happened. Boom. Explosion.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. But the whether or not Mike Pence will do it or anybody else, if you will, in the cabinet will step forward. I mean, one of the things that really, left me, probably more disheartened than anything that I've actually seen is the cowardice that exists. The cowardice that allowed this kind of stuff to,
It's real.
It's man.
It's real. Folk are scared. They're scared.
They're cowards, man. I'm looking at them, man. I'm like, here you are. You're a United States senator,
Petrified with fear.
Yeah.
But that's real. That's real.
I mean, you're. I mean, here you are. You reached the pinnacle of whatever in our society.
You expect too much from people, Russell.
But to be cowards.
I just
You-
thought it was interesting to watch them. I mean, they were running around scared. And I mean, it wasn't too long ago. These people were talking tough and all this stuff.
You're
And
talking about after the building was
Yeah.
attacked?
Yeah. While it was going on, they were, and then like, whoo. Okay.
Vicky, when terrorists break into the building, start shooting folk, gunfire's going off.
I know
most
that.
people get scared.
I know that.
I
but
don't
they
expect
didn't-
them to be
They
all.
didn't think it was going to get to this point. That was the
Right.
thing.
Right.
They didn't think. And you
Right.
got to always expect
Right.
that somebody is going to always do something.
Well,
you gotta
be that
expect it
be
now.
that as it may,
You gotta
they,
expect
they acted like most human beings will do when they hear gunfire in a place that they think is safe, and then they realize
You're
their
not
life
safe anywhere.
Well, how
is,
about
is on
prior
the line.
to? How
But
about
prior to that, which
yeah.
is what you're talking
Yeah,
about,
How about prior
We're
to
not
that?
safe.
people are cowardly. They take the path of least resistance. Most people will never ever be real leaders. They follow in the pack. They get behind who they need to get behind. And the elected office means you need to be voted in. And you have to work against those powers that want to vote you out. And they think that Donald Trump is an individual that has the capacity and the power to be a political force that can vote them out. So they're afraid of him.
You know what?
And that's how they act.
And you know what? Again, I think the reason why the grift works and why the con works is because of perception. And I think the perception, unfortunately, becomes the reality for a lot of folks. It has nothing to do with the real ability of the person, if you will. It's what they choose to believe.
That's because you have courage, Russell. You
There's a lot
have
of con
courage. A
artists
lot of
out
people
there.
have courage. But when you call somebody's bluff, be ready for them to be able to back up what they said. And a lot of folk they believe when someone tells them that they actually can do something. Donald Trump put a lot of those folk in office. They know what he can do. Bushes, he paid for their campaigns and stuff like.
He said it
they
during
they
the-
know
the
exactly what he can do. So he may be fronting, but the people who are conducting themselves like they believe him. Now we understand. You understand why? It's not some mystery. They're cowardly. That's how cowardly folk act. It don't matter whether they're a senator or a president or a janitor. When people are afraid, they're afraid. Some people are petrified with fear.
Isn't it interesting, though? The cowards are afraid of a coward.
You say that from here,
I mean,
and that's how you believe. But don't diminish the fact that they're afraid,
Listen,
because we're suffering because of their fear.
I said it's interesting. I'm not trying to diminish it. I'm just saying it's interesting to me, because to me, a lot of what I've seen 45 do is cowardly too. It's just like, hey, listen, we're all gonna march down.
Then he ducks out,
and then
he ducked out.
He jets out to the other side.
But that's what these guys do. I mean, this is
Come
what
on,
these
man.
guys do.
Come on.
Yeah,
Did everybody know that?
You and I sitting on the sidelines can say that.
Yeah,
but
still.
The 50,000 people marching down the street thinking he's with them are doomed.
Look. Everything that I've seen you know, for the most part, he sends other people out to do his bidding. 9 times the way the grift works, it's always
in some circles they call that delegation.
That's it.
You know, it just depends on what side you're on.
Yeah, right.
You know, I'm trying to get. We're gonna get to this here break.
Hey, look.
We gotta get to the break only because we're running out of time, and I want to give this some justice, Russell. This is for Hartford legend Nicky Mathis, who recently passed away.
Oh, no.
And we have some music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Sister Nikki has gone on to be into the arms of the Lord. And we're gonna play some music in honor of Nikki, which should probably take us out, because I'll let the whole song play here.
Oh, but before you show this, before this, I just want to make a brief announcement that the Hartford Public Library is holding a winter coat giveaway today.
Okay,
it's going to be at the Barber Library, 261 Barber Street, from 2:30 to 3:30 today. So the coats are going to be distributed on a first-come, first basis while supplies last. Limit 1 coat per individual. And they were donated by Button Up Connecticut, a nonprofit organization that whose mission is to collect gently and used winter coats and distribute them throughout residents in need throughout Connecticut. So if you need a coat, head on up to the Barber Library, 261 Barber Street.
Barber Street. All right.
Very good.
Yes.
All right, my friends, we're gonna go out with Nicky Mathis. We'll let her song be the last. This is
for some of this.
The Women of Color Festival that she used to have. Women do the Women of Color Jazz series that she did every year. Great musician and a woman of vision.
It's too bad.
And so we are going to let this take us out. We'll see you here tomorrow. All right, tomorrow's what? Thursday?
No.
Friday.
Wow. Man, time flies.
All
All right, we'll see you here tomorrow. Coffee. What is it? Coffee.
Coffee, conversation, and cookies or cake.
Cookies, conversation,
I don't know.
coffee.
Is it my turn to bring something now or what?
I don't know, Vicky. When's the last time you brought something for that?
It's been a while.
The pound cake would be nice, all buttered pound cake.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll swing by.
Yeah, we'll see what's in my cupboard.
Vicky's gonna make a pound cake.
We'll see what's in my cupboard.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I didn't know she was doing that.
think about the life I live, a figure made of clay. Think about the things I've lost, the things I gave away. But when I'm in a certain mood, I search the house and look. One night I found these magic words in a magic book. They said, throw it away, throw it away. Give up your love, live your life each and every day. Keep your hand wide open, let the love and light shine through. 'Cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. There's a hand will rock a cradle, a hand shall help us stand. With a kind of gentle motion moving across the land. And the hands unclenched and open, giving love and life it brings. Keep your hand wide open if you need anything. Throw it away, just throw it away. Give up your love, live your life each and every day. And keep your hand wide open, let the love and light shine through. 'Cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. Viva blues on the boogie. Give of your love, live your life each and every day. And keep your hand wide open, let the love shine through. 'Cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. Cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. You can never, never lose a thing if it belongs to you. You can never lose a thing, not a thing, not a thing if it belongs to you. You can never, 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 never lose a thing if it belongs to you. Go ahead. We Thank you. Abby Lincoln Jr. Thank you very much.
Dreams meandering, leaving impressions deep. As time moves on, the stars